Hi, welcome to another edition of the Alan Rosenberg Show. This is video number 2 for the day, and what I've wanted to do is review the newest Pretenders album called Relentless. It came out this year, and that is the CD. You're in a gatefold, and I have now listened to this album 6 times, as I wanted to get a good, thorough review. It comes with one of these poster kind of lyric type sheets. Again, I'm not a lyric guy as much as I love Chrissie Hynde, and I do. I don't sit there and read the lyrics, and I wouldn't sit there studying this kind of a thing. And then that's the flip side of the poster, and you can see there's Chrissie, and I guess that's James Walburn, her newest partner, guitarist in the band and co-writer, kind of replacing James Honeyman Scott. And there's been a lot of people in between, of course. So this is Relentless from the Pretenders, their newest release. Now, little background. Pretenders are one of those rare cases for me that I nailed the band when they first started. I got into Pretenders when they released their first single, picked up the debut album literally when it came out, and I've been following Chrissie Hynde and the Pretenders ever since. I am a huge fan. I saw the original Pretenders. Of course, this is one of the newer editions of this album with bonus discs and things like that. But I saw that original Pretenders band multiple times. They were a favorite of mine. I thought Pretenders 2 was also great. Not as great as the debut album. And then, of course, the band kind of dissipated. She fired Pete Farndon, the bass player. He passed away, and James Honeyman Scott passed away as well. And then their third album was a great album, Learning to Crawl. But now you have a revolving Pretenders lineup. Always a different foil on guitar and co-writer. And Martin Chambers was the other steady member, the drummer. I think he's a great drummer. I loved seeing Martin Chambers play with the band live. But even from the beginning, here's Get Close. He wasn't in that band. There was a different drummer. And then he would come back, and then she wouldn't have him again, and he would come back. To me, I still miss that original Pretenders band greatly. But that's not to say they haven't had huge success even for me. In 1980, the Pretenders' debut album was my #1 album of the year, my favorite new artist. I loved Pretenders 2. I thought Learning to Crawl was really strong. And then after that, Pact was just okay. Maybe one day I'll do a ranking. In 1994, they released Last of the Independents. This album blew me away. This album was also, for me, a top 3 album of the year. I still think this is a killer album. I'll Stand By You, Night in My Veins. It's a great album. But I got tons of bootlegs. This is actually, and I can pull it up on my database, I have 34 Pretenders albums. Well, that includes 12-inch singles and rarities, imports, and bootlegs. So I got everything, and then of course I got a bunch of Chrissy solo stuff. This was a really good solo album, and I love Fidelity. This album that she did, JP, Chrissy and the Fairground Boy. This is an incredible album, one of my favorites. But some of her albums didn't really hit me that much. Alone, I thought was just okay, and Break Up the Concrete, I thought was just okay, and Loose Screw, well, that was just okay. They're good. Long story short, the album she released 2 years ago, for whatever reason, really hit me. Hate for Sale. I just thought this was killer. I loved this album. There's Martin Chambers right there, so he was back in the band. And it's just a really tight little album that I thought was great. And it was a top 3 album for me. So Chrissy's had, the debut album was top 3 for me. Last of the Independents, Hate for Sale was a top 3. And the album she did, JP and the Fairground Boys, I love that. When I played this album initially, I was like, wasn't doing that much for me. It's got a really strange production. Doesn't sound like the Pretenders to me. But I understand why she called it the Pretenders, because it's definitely a band effort. But it's really, the producer has a great influence on this album. This album, to me, doesn't sound like any other Pretenders album. And it definitely is a band album. So that's why she called it the Pretenders, I'm sure. It doesn't sound like a solo record, but it also doesn't sound like the classic Pretenders. Let's get into song by song. So it starts off with a thing called Losing My Sense of Taste, and gives you a good idea of this album because it's dense, man. It's loud, it's crunchy, but it's dense. It sounds like when you record something and the needle's all the way in the red. You know, it's not clean at all. And Chrissie's vocals in general, I think if she's not the greatest female rock singer of all time, for me, she's way up there. I love listening to her voice, and her phrasing is just incredible. You could hear it on this album, but it's mixed into this really dense sound. And the drums, being a drummer, I like a big, powerful drum sound. And Martin Chambers was a big, powerful drum sound. And the drummer on this album is a guy named Chrissie Hynde, who I'd never heard of. I'm sure he's fine, but his drums are really mixed in there, dense. You hear the kick drum a lot, and the bass on this album is very prominent as well. But you hear a lot of guitars, really dense guitars. This is just a powerful opening rocker, but there's no real hook that you grab onto, and it just ends with like this metallic kind of crunch that it's like metallic, man. I don't know. It's a good opener, but it's not a great song. Second one is A Love, and there you get like the typical kind of classic Pretenders, jangly kind of guitar, which is nice. Again, there's a prominent bass. You feel the bass. The drums, again, are low-key. I miss Martin Chambers being loud in that mix, but I guess that's not what she wanted. It's a nice little guitar figure that goes throughout the song. But the guitar figure is really the biggest hook of the song. It doesn't really grab you. Pretenders, to me, their best tracks are hooky. You know, they grab you. And so far, it's not really grabbing me. The third song's, what's it called? Domestic Silence. It goes back to more of a rocker kind of a thing. And it's ballsy. Again, it's recorded like an overdrive. I could picture a needle in the red. You know, it's what it sounds like. But it's just like unclean again. It's muddy and it's dense. I don't know who the producer is. His name was David Wrench. You could see it there. I don't know who he is. But that's clearly the sound that they were after. I don't know. It just takes away from the Pretenders, and, you know, in particular. It's got a nice guitar solo in there. Listen, it's a strong song. It's not that it's not good, but it's not a classic. Next one is The Copa. Again, another mellow kind of a track. Excellent vocals from Chrissie. It's got some really nice guitar textures. It's all in that production. Who is that guy? I don't have any of his Chris Isaak. You know, Chris Isaak had that like haunting kind of guitar texture, almost like Dick Dale. That's what's in The Copa, and it's really nice. It's a nice little haunting guitar solo in there as well. It's a good track for sure. It's not a classic, but it's a good track. Excellent vocals. Next is Promise of Love, The Promise of Love, and that starts with the piano. So you got a piano ballad there. And vocals are still great as always. There's like a keyboard sound. It's like an orchestrated keyboard that fills out the sound. Yeah, really nice ballad. It works really well. Next up, Merry Widow. Starts as like this thick, again, muddy guitar ballad, but it's like a dirge. It's muddy, it's thick. And then it builds up, and you get a keyboard line. There's a faint kind of keyboard line that gives you the melody throughout it. It's good. Again, another really good song. Interesting, at like the 3-minute mark, it goes into this like jam that sounds like Middle Eastern or Indian. I'm not exactly Arabian. I'm not sure what it is, but it completely goes off tangent, which is interesting. Next up is Let the Sun Come In. I don't know what to make of that one. That one is your quote-unquote standard kind of Pretenders rocker pop song almost. It's got a really, really hooky chorus and a catchy guitar line. But at the same time, it kind of annoys me a little bit. You know what it reminds me of? That Sheryl Crow song, Soak Up the Sun. I hate that song, and I love Sheryl Crow. But it almost sounds like it's written to order. Like, we got to come up with like a hit single. I don't know if this song was a single or not. Let the Sun Come In. But it has that sound like Soak Up the Sun had it. It just annoys me. I hear it and I'm like, there's the song that they tried to make a hit, but didn't work. The album didn't even chart. This album hasn't even charted in America. I think it peaked at 25 in the UK. Next up is Look Away. Look Away, an acoustic finger-picking kind of ballad. Wonderful atmosphere. It's got these big crash cymbals that stay with you. And, a lot of echo, a lot of mood, melody. Again, it's very dense. A really good track. It's called Look Away. I really like it. I don't think it's a classic, but it's a really good track. The next one is Your House Is on Fire, another ballad. Second half of the album tends to be more ballad-like with all this atmosphere. And to me, Your House Is on Fire's got this fantastic chorus, nice percussion effects, a lot of echo. It's got like this synthesizer kind of orchestral bridge. And the chorus hits with you. I'm hearing it right now in my head. Your house is on fire. What you gonna do? Your house is on. It's a classic. It's the only song on this album where I would say, if they were going to do another Pretenders Greatest Hits Best Of, Your House Is on Fire would go on that. I think it's an amazing, amazing track. Love it. Next up is Just Let It Go. That was a mid-tempo kind of a rocker. Again, this really dense production. Kind of reminds me of Daniel Lanois, a guy who, I love that production. He did the Emmylou Harris album, Wrecking Ball, Oh Mercy from Dylan. Reminds me of, I don't know, again, who this producer is, David Lynch, but I wonder if he was influenced by Daniel Lanois, because it reminds me of it. It's got that Chris Isaak sound again. Just Let It Go, really good track. It's got a really searing lead guitar solo in there, which I really like. But it doesn't take off to the extent where it's a classic. Next is Vainglorious. That's the one that is the only song on the album that I kind of dislike. Could have been a classic, straight, basic Pretenders rocker, but through the whole song, there's all these like unnecessary effects. Almost sounds like two radio stations tuning in, or remember in the days you used to play a cassette and it got pulled and it just like has a warped cassette sound? That's what it sounds like. Vainglorious, if I was the producer, take all that crap out of there and just make it a straight ballsy rocker. It would have worked a million times better. And then it ends with I Think About You Daily with Johnny Greenwood. He's, of course, from Radiohead, and he did a beautiful job on the string arrangements. This song is a piano ballad with gorgeous string arrangements and magnificent, magnificent vocals from Chrissie Hynde. Almost sounds like it doesn't belong in this album. It's cleaner, but it's a really good song to an album that has grown on me. So a lot of people say you should be able to appreciate an album from the get-go. I don't agree with that. I got a million examples of that. If I listened to this album once, I wouldn't have cared for it. Now, I definitely really like it. I don't think it's as good as the last one, Hate for Sale, which to me was more immediate and tighter. But this is a grower. It's got a lot of atmosphere. Does it sound like the classic Pretenders of these? No, not at all. Does it even sound like the Pretenders? No, not really. Although there's some twangy kind of James Honeyman Scott guitar that James Woburn is definitely doing. So it does have that kind of a sound. But Martin Chambers, to me, sorely missed in the mix. Pete Farton's, you're never going to go back to that classic Pretenders. But Chrissie's got a right to call this stuff the Pretenders. It's a band effort. So there you go. I hope you enjoyed my video. This is my Stevie Nicks tour t-shirt with the Pretenders. They were the opener. I'm probably the only one in the world that went to see Stevie Nicks because I wanted to see the Pretenders. I remember telling my wife, stay tuned. I guarantee you the Pretenders are going to be better. And they were much better than Stevie Nicks was, in my opinion. Anyway, there you go. Let me know what you think. If you're new to my channel, by the way, and you haven't subscribed, hit subscribe. Check out my playlist, man. I got a million playlists. I got 300 videos, give or take. There's a lot to do in this channel. Hope you enjoy it. Thanks for watching again. Have a great night, and I'll see you next time on the Alan Rosenberg Show.